Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Mohammad Faysal Hawlader, lecturer, Department of Anatomy, Eastern Medical College. Today I am going to discuss about introduction of nervous systems. What do you mean by nervous systems? The chief controlling and coordinating systems of the body which controls all the voluntary and involuntary functions and adjust individual to the surroundings. Classification of nervous systems. Anatomically, nervous systems is divided into central nervous systems and peripheral nervous systems. What is central nervous systems? Brain and spinal cord together constitutes as central nervous systems. What is peripheral nervous systems? 12 pairs of cranial nerve and 31 pairs of spinal nerve and their associated ganglia constitute the peripheral nervous systems. Functionally, nervous systems is divided into autonomic nervous systems and somatic nervous systems. What is autonomic nervous systems? The nervous systems which innervates the autonomic structures of the body is known as autonomic nervous systems like heart, lung, glandular secretion and smooth muscle. What is somatic nervous systems? The nervous systems which innervates the structures of the body wall is known as somatic nervous systems like skin, mucous membrane, skeletal muscle, tendon and joint. Autonomic nervous systems is divided into sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous systems and enteric nervous systems. What is sympathetic nervous systems? Thoracolumbar outflow is known as sympathetic nervous systems. What is parasympathetic nervous systems? Craniosacral outflow is known as parasympathetic nervous systems, and enteric nervous systems is confined within the GI tract. It is also known as intrinsic nervous systems of GI tract. Now, composition of nervous systems. Nervous system is composed of neuron, neuroglia and blood vessel. What is neuron? They are the specialized excitable cell which forms structural and functional component of nervous systems. What is neuroglia? They are the supporting cells. They provide support and nutrition to the neuron. And what are the difference between neuron and neuroglia? Neuron are excitable cells and neuroglia are non-excitable cells. In case of neuron, mitotic division is not occur because they are permanent cell. In case of neuroglia, mitotic division is occur. Less number than neuroglia, and neuroglia is 10 times more than the neurons. Parts of neuron. Neuron is divided into cell body and neurites. Axon and dendrites are known as neurites. Now, cell body. Cell body is also known as perikaryon or soma. Soma contain nucleus and neuroplasm. And neuroplasm contain Golgi complex, mitochondria, lysosome, centriole. And special component of neuroplasm are Golgi complex and microfilament and microtubules. And Nissl substance. Under electron microscope, Nissl substance represents the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which involves with protein synthesis. Now, neurites. Axon and dendrites is known as neurites. Axon. Axons are long, cylindrical and single in number. Axon has no branches and axonal surface are smooth. Before ending, axon is divided into axon terminal and the terminal shows swelling known as synaptic button or presynaptic terminal. Dendrites. Dendrites are short and contain 3 processes, and dendrites are multiple in number and it forms numerous branching. Dendrite surfaces are not smooth because they contain spine for synaptic contract. So, what are the difference between axon and dendrites? Axons are long and cylindrical and dendrites are short and contain thick processes. Axons are single in number and dendrites are multiple in number. Axon has no branches, but dendrite forms numerous branching. Axonal surface is smooth and dendrite surface are not smooth because they contain spine for synaptic control. Functional difference between axon and dendrites. Axon transmit impulse away from the cell body and dendrites transmit impulse towards the cell body. Now, classification of neurons. According to polarity, neurons is divided into unipolar neurons, bipolar neurons and multipolar neurons. Unipolar neurons are single neurites divides a short distance from cell body. And example of unipolar neurons are mesencephalic nucleus of the fifth cranial nerve, dorsal root ganglia and cranial nerve ganglia. Bipolar neurons are single neurites emerges from either end of cell body. And example of bipolar neurons are olfactory cells, bipolar cells of retina, vestibular ganglia and hair cells of cochlea. Multipolar neurons has many dendrites and one long axon. Example of multipolar neurons are spinal cord, dorsal and ventral horn, motor cortex and cells of autonomic ganglia. According to size of neurons or according to axonal length, neurons is divided into Golgi type 1 and Golgi type 2. Golgi type 1 has single long axons and example of Golgi type 1 are pyramidal cell, Purkinje cell and anterior horn cell of the spinal cord. In case of Golgi type 2, they have short axon and example of Golgi type 2 are cerebral and cerebellar cortex and retina. Functional classification of neurons are sensory neurons and motor neurons. Sensory neuron is the neuron that carries sensory information from the periphery to the central nervous systems. Sensory neurons are involved in reflex arc and sensory perceptions. And it divided into first order neurons, second order neurons and third order neurons. First order neurons carry sensation from periphery to the spinal cord. And second order neuron carry sensation from spinal cord to the thalamus. And third order neuron carry sensation from thalamus to the sensory cortex of the brain. Now motor neurons. These are the neurons that carry motor impulse from the central nervous system to the effector organ. Motor neurons involves in glandular secretion, muscular contraction and cardiac rates and respiratory movement. And they divided into upper motor neurons and lower motor neurons. Now what is upper motor neurons? Pyramidal cells and their axon up to the anterior horn cell of spinal cord are known as upper motor neurons. What is lower motor neurons? Anterior horn cells of spinal cord and their axons and the motor neurons of cranial nerve, motor nuclei and their axons in the brainstem is known as lower motor neuron.